in Russia at the moment. So just a couple of words about the company I represent. Called PelTrade, biomass trader. We started in 2012 as a premium supplier to the UK market, mostly from Russia. Grew rapidly, just supplying containers. In 2016 we delivered our first cargo vessel, so currently we are supplying substantial volumes both to the premium market and to industrial market. We've got all possible certification required for trading, EN+, SBB, FSC, ESL, everything. So we represented in Pellet associations both in the UK, where is our major market for sale, and in Russia. So another director from PelTrade, he's vice president of the UK Pellet Council. I was recently elected as the president of Russian Pellet Council, which was recently launched. Then let me start from overview of the Russian forestry. Russia has, as the largest company, has the biggest area of forests in the world. So in like a pessimistic scenario, I would say it's over 800 million hectares of forest. So nearest competitor Brazil has only around 500 millions of hectares, and for instance, United States and Canada, they're less than half, even though they're also huge, the biggest pellet producers in the world. They're less than half of Russian forestry. In terms of locations for these forests, you could see most of it located northwest of Russia, this Arhangelsk, Komi, Vologda region, and in eastern Siberia, Krasnoyarsk, Irkutsk regions, which are quite far away from main ports. The emerging places for pellet productions far east of Russia as well. The composition of wood across the country, it's mostly coniferous. Almost 70% of total wood composition is coniferous, and 39% of which is large. I don't know if you ever came across large pellets. I think that they're the most durable pellets I came across, with durability of over 99.5%. Unfortunately, not all our pellets are made from large. I would say majority still made from pine and spruce. But developing further east, I think we expect new production from large in this region. There are numerous concerns on deforestation in Russia. Companies like Greenpeace, they raise their voice that Russia chop more trees than plant, but official statistics shows that it's false. So you could see statistics from 2009 up to 2018, and every year we at least plant the same volume, or most of the years more were planted than chopped. So that's not really a concern at the moment. But the main issue of fires. So in average, we have about 7 million hectares of fires, which is dramatic, and this year was especially bad due to extremely hot weather, which was like an average over 10 degrees above average, lack of rains, and that most of these forest fires were in very distant areas. It's probably hard to imagine in European scale that some fires were like over 1,000 kilometers from the nearest populated area, nearest populated town or city, or village even. So yeah, this year I found statistics up until end of July, there was around 8 million hectares in fire, and as per predictions, by the end of this year, we're going to have about 15 million hectares of fires. Yeah, quite a square. It's a square of Greece, for instance, just to give you a scale of the disaster, and it's about 1.8% of total forests, square of total forests in Russia. But if you look at the global picture, compare, for instance, with what's going on in the rest of the world, it's quite a small graph. But if you compare this is Russia, with its 15 million square hectares, so at the same time Brazil has 230 million hectares of fires, so Russia not the worst in this sense. Then I suggest we look at the map of the world in terms of production. You could see that 31% of total production concentrated in Northern America, then 40% in Western Europe, and in Eastern Europe plus Russia it's only 10%. So at the same time, this slide demonstrates the availability of woody biomass across the planet, and you could see that Northern America has stable harvest potential, and only part of South America, a little bit of Africa and Australia have increasing harvest potential. But if you look at this bit, this is mostly territory of Russia. So most of the territory of Russia has increasing harvesting potential in terms of wood. I'm not going to focus much on the demand, on the consumption of wood pellets. I think there were quite a few presentations before me. The only thing I want to make a conclusion that the European demand will shortly exceed its ability to supply. It's already exceeded. Yeah, it's already imported a lot of product, but yeah, going further situation will only get worsen. If we look by 2020, we expect total world consumption of wood pellets in the region of 50 million. So yeah, it's currently the most growth will come from industrial market. So if currently industrial consumption in the region 25 million, by 2025 we expect it will increase up to 40 million. So yeah, not gonna focus much on the European market. Just want to focus your attention that across 5 biggest producers in Europe, Russia third, with Latvia fourth. These two first countries, Germany and Sweden, they both have quite substantial domestic markets, so they consume domestically most of their own production, when Russia and Latvia send most of its product for export. Two countries with the highest export potential at the moment. So yeah, from EPC statistics we could see that the current consumption of wood pellets for both industrial and heating market is in the region of 27 million, and by 2020, yeah, it will grow with another 9% up to 30 million tons. So Asia situation looks even more promising. So if we don't look at China because China is closed market, nobody has exact statistics on China, but if you look Japan and South Korea, they currently consume 1 and 3.5 million tons respectively. We expect a boom growth around 2022. which will be 3 million for Japan and 6 million for South Korea. And by 2030, Japan has plans to increase their consumption up to 20 million. They suspended most of their nuclear plants, and pellets going to be one of the sources of renewable electricity for Japan. So the question is, where will all this supply come? I understand that American suppliers can substantially increase their capacity, but Russia is the next logical region for supply of woody biomass products as wood pellets. So Russia geographically locates that it's quite close to Europe on the west and to Asian market on the east. So currently we have in the region of 250 pellet producers, but only 30 of them produce 80% of total productive volume. Current installed capacity about 4 million tons, but utilization is quite low, about 60%, and not for the reason that there is a lack of raw material, as it was said, for European countries, mostly due to, I would say, bad projects which never operate. Like anybody heard about one of the biggest gold plants in Wyborg with a capacity of 1 million tons, which never operate, with more than 350,000 tons, and currently it's stopped completely. So 90% of all our production goes for export to Europe. Only about 5% stays on domestic market, and another 5% goes to Asian market. We made some calculations based on the current raw material availability. So Russia currently harvests in the region of 280, quite small, 240 cubic meters of round wood a year. If we take only residuals out of this material, because most of it is processed to timber, it would give us a region of 47 cubic meters of residuals, such as wood shavings, sawdust, wood chips, which could be processed into wood pellets and gives us raw material to produce about 7 million tons of wood pellets, but current production just around 2 million tons. So it's a huge potential, and I'm not taking into account any low-grade wood, round wood, which also could be processed to wood pellets. Russian government has a program to increase harvests of wood by 2030 by up to 286 million tons, which would allow to increase production of wood pellets up to 8.7 million tons. And I would say quite a lot of plants are in the construction stage at the moment. So that's only known plans to us. So by the end of 2019, early 2020, we expect additional capacity of 220,000 tons, and during 2020 we expect another capacity of 500,000 tons, which will give totally capacity of 700,000 tons. In terms of certification, Russia has 33 active producers certified with EN Plus scheme, and 20 producers certified by SBP. So we're on the top of the list in terms of number of SBP certified, and I think we are number 4 for EN+, number of plants certified by EN+. In general scale, then we have 250 plants. It's not big numbers, but I just want to remind that only 30% produce 80% of our total product. So I believe most of our largest producers, they're certified, they have most of the certification. On top of it, we have about 44 million hectares of certified, FSC certified forests and 14 million hectares of PEFC certified forests, and these numbers keep growing. However, the bottleneck which we expect for Russian pellet industry will be port infrastructure. The ports are overloaded at the moment, and if you see this increase, what we expect in the near future, we will see huge problem, especially with the current infrastructure. Answer on this question could be Baltic ports, which has the same use of rail as in Russia, so we can send wagons to Baltic ports. They still have some capacity, not huge, but at the moment we have political issues that Russian government trying to fight Baltic states, not allowing Russian national railway company to provide wagons for this direction. But I guess if we'll have a problem with delivering pellets to Europe, I think they will allow to do so. And the last but not the least, I want to introduce Russian Pellet Council, which I also introduced here on the Pellet Council, Pellet Conference. So we recently launched Russian Pellet Council, which will unite all possible participants of the pellet market in Russia. It's including all producers, traders, engineering companies, service providers, logistic company, everyone who involved in this industry. The idea to unite this industry, because you could see that it's 2 million ton industry at the moment, which could easily be 5 million in 5 years. So there is no really such body which would protect interest of this industry. So we invite all Spanish participants which are interested to penetrate Russian market. Let's say well-respected company, Prudessa, we had a chat, and maybe some boiler manufacturers who is planning to enter some other markets. So it could be a platform for you to come to Russia, to do business in Russia, maybe find investment projects in Russia, to invest in pellet plants in Russia. That's it. Thank you very much for your attention. Gracias.
You said 5% only is remaining in Russia?
Yeah, the domestic market is only.
Yeah. What do you think is the evolution of the market, of the domestic market in Russia? Is going to grow, or
I hope so. I personally, I represent my main business exporting wood pellets from Russia, but I still believe that it should be developing Russian domestic market, because at the moment, we deliver coil for several thousand kilometers from Siberia to regions where we have, wood to burn and to produce wood pellets and to heat houses. It's a city. There is no government subsidy for it. Yeah, we have cheap gas, but at the same time, quite a lot of houses they're out of gas grid, and the most logical would be wood pellets. So one of the, I think, goals of this newly created association would be to promote wood pellets on the local market, to develop the local market, try to lobby it with the government maybe for some subsidy schemes.
Do you think
I personally think it will grow, yeah.
Is there any chance to retrofit, because there are some cities filled with coal, I guess, in the big cities? Do you think it's feasible to retrofit this city and to use pellets?
Yes, definitely. First of all, for private houses, in Russia we have district heating in big cities. So the combined heat and power plants which provide both electricity and the heat for big cities. but for smaller villages, that's definitely a way forward to start some commercial users. Yeah. And don't think that we will generate electricity as Drax does in the UK from pellets, but for small users,